In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to get all 173 shiny relics. So your first 3 are in spawn here, one behind the bush, one in front of the tree here just by the game sign, and the next one being behind the social rewards right here. Go ahead and make your way to castle, and just on the right here near the tree is your next one. And then you have 3 in the trading area, so make your way inside the castle here. Your first one's just by the entrance, your second under the bridge here, and then your third is just behind the sign here, or the billboard. So make your way back to the main world. You're then going to make your way to Autumn, and this one is just behind the classic Obby gate here, then into Cherry Blossom, and it's just on the left here, onto the next world, and it's just in the crate here to the right, and then again moving on to the next world, it's just here on the right. Moving on to Misty Falls, this one is just on the left here near the waterfall. Skip the next world and go on to Dead Forest, and it's just on the right here near the bush. So the next one is Dark Forest, and you actually have 2 in this one. So one is on the right here behind the gravestone, and then the other one is opposite it on the front of the gravestone. Moving on to Enchanted Forest, so you have 2 relics again, one being on the left here, just behind the bush. Now I really suck at using this hoverboard, I don't know what I do wrong, but I keep getting stuck on stuff, but your other relic is just in the log here. Now we're going to go all the way to the Jungle Temple. So you have one on the left here, above this arch. And then for the second one, you need to go into the Jungle Obby here, and you do need to complete this Obby. So get to the very end. And then just on the right here, you're able to go down, and there it is. So go ahead and teleport back to the main world. So head down to the beach, and there is 2 on this one. So one is in the a bucket just here, and your second one is also in a bucket just further down the beach. Head down to the coral reef, and one is in the yellow coral here. I think it's a coral. Then down to Atlantis, and one is on the pillar on the very left here, so you need to swim up to grab it. Once you've got that, if you just head into the mini game down here, the relic is just on the right side. Head over to Palm Beach, where you have 2 relics. So one is inside the tunnel here, and then your other one is just on top of the arch here. And in Tiki, your relic is just behind the rebirth gate here on the left. The next world, where you have 2, they are both in the piles of coins here. Your first one is there, I don't know if you could see that. But your second one is on the other side, just at the back there. Onto Pirate Cavern, this one is inside the boat, just on the left here. Then go ahead and enter that fishing area there. Very simple, it's just on the left here underneath that starfish. And head back to the main world. Onto the Digsite. So your first one is just at the back right behind the bones here. And then of course, if you enter the mini game here, it's just at the very back behind the bones there. Onto the pyramids, and this one is just behind the cactus here on the right. Then moving to Wild West, this one is on the side of the building here, just in the window. Onto the next world, and you can see it just on the right side there on the rock. Over to the mountains, you have one kind of hanging out a tree here on the left. Moving on to Snow Village, in this one you have two relics. One is behind the first house here, just behind it here, and your second one is on the roof of the third house just here. Next is Ice Rink. If you make your way over to the snowman, he is just holding it in his hand. On to Ski Town, and this one is just behind the house here. Next is Hot Springs, and this one is just at the very back left at the bottom of the waterfall. Fire and Ice, and it's just on the left here on top of that icicle. Move on to Volcano, and this one is just on the right side here in the lava. On to Obsidian Cave, and this one is just on the left side here behind this rock. Into the next world, and this one is just on the right here. Onto the Underworld, and this one is just in the skull here. Moving on to the Underworld Bridge, and this one is just on the left side here down on this little grey part. Onto Fire Dojo, and you have two relics here. So your first one is just on the right here on top of this gate, and your other one is just behind the golden gate here. Onto Samurai Village, and this one is just on the left side as soon as you enter the area. Onto Bamboo Forest, and this one is inside the building right here. Moving on to the flower garden, and if you enter the flower garden right here, this one is just on the right here behind the rock. And go back to main. Moving on to Fairytale Castle, and this one is behind the billboard here. Onto Fairy Castle, and this one is just on the right side of the castle here, just behind this rock. Moving on to a cozy village, and this one is behind the house here, just on the left side. Now moving all the way down to Frost Mountains, this one is just behind a rock at the very back. Into the next area, and just behind the ice at the left here. Onto Snowman Town, and you just want to make your way up the left path here to the snowman at the top, and it's just behind him here. Make your way over to Polar Express, and this one is on top of the train just here. Onto the next area, and this one is just behind this small cabin here. Moving down to the ancient ruins, and this one is just on top of this part here. Into the next area, and it's just behind the pillar here. Moving on to Wizard Tower, and this one is just at the bottom of the waterfall here. Into the next area, and it's just in the grave on the left here. Onto the Haunted Forest, and this one is just on top of the rock sculpture here to the right. Moving all the way down to the Haunted Mansion, and this one is just on the right side in the window. Down to the dungeon, and it's just on the very left here in this corner. Now head into the advanced dig site here. And this one is at the back right there behind the bones. And then in the same area you have another one just underneath the flag here to the right. Moving on to the treasure dungeon, and this one is just behind the chest here in the corner. Into the next area, and it's just on the wall here. Moving down all the way to the cotton candy forest, and it's just on the left here in the tree. Into the next area, the gummy forest, you just need to make your way up the ladder, and it's at the very top. Onto the chocolate waterfall, and this one is at the bottom of the waterfall here. The next area, and it's just on top of the ice cream here. Into the next area, and it's just on the right side here behind the block. And make your way into the lucky block minigame here, and make your way to that back left spot. The relic is just behind these rocks, and make your way back to the main game into the next area, and it's just in this little hut here. Into the theme park, and it's in the red building here. Onto the cloud garden, and this one is just behind the pillar on the right side in the gazebo. You then want to make your way into the advanced fishing in the next area, and this one is just behind a tree on the left side. Onto the next area, and it's just on the roof there of this little house. Moving on to Heavenly Gates, and this one is just on the right side here behind the gate. Then for your last one in World 1, if you head over to the Heaven Golden Castle, it's just by the stairs here. So now you've got all of them from World 1, you want to go ahead and teleport to World 2. Starting from Area 1, your first one is just on the left side here. Moving down to Hologram Forest, and this one is just behind the warp portal here, just behind the tree. Down to Robot Farm, and this one is just behind the hay here on the right. In the next area, it's just on the left here in the water behind the rock. Make your way down to the Mushroom Lab, and this one is on the right side here, just in the yellow tree. So skip the next area, and in this one it's just behind the grass here. Then into the tech jungle, and it's just on the tree here to the right. Onto Oasis Ruins, and this one is just on the left side here behind this park. In the next area, this one is just on the rocks at the back right here. And then into the next area, this one is in a coral at the very top, so you need to swim up, and there it is. Now head into the next area, and your next one is just on the right side here, on top of the rocks. And your second one is in the same area, just on the other side behind this rock here. Now head all the way down to Tech Wild West. And this one is on top of one of the buildings, just here. So you need to make your way up the rocks and then do a little parkour. Now you want to head down to Frostbite Forest, and it's just on the right side here on the ice. Now onto the Forcefield Mine, and this one is just on the right side here on the ledge. Moving on to the Cracked Iceberg, and this one is just on the left side here on the ice. Then head down to Nexus, and this one is just on the building on the right. Onto Secure Coast, and this one is just in the booth on the left here. Into Radiation Mine, and this one is just in the sewer here at the bottom left. Onto Exploded Reactor, and this one is just behind a rock here. Spaceship dock, nice and easy, it's just on the launch pad here. Now head down to Lunar Planet and it's just by the satellite here. Moving on to Saturn Planet, it's just on the top of the rock here. Onto Comet Planet, and this one is just behind the comet here on the left. Moving on to Electric Garden, and this one is just on the grass on the left side. Onto Neon City, and this one is just behind the warp portal on the right here. Moving on to Robot Factory, and this one is at the back right near the pipes. Into the next area, and this one is at the top left here on top of this machine. Spore Garden, this one is just on the grass here. Head down to Alien Lab, and this one is just on the panel here on the right. Make your way down to Space Forge, and this one is just behind this part here. Onto Space Junkyard, and this one is right behind the portal here. Moving on to Steampunk Town, and this one is in the spinning gear on the left here. Next is Steampunk Airship, and it's just behind the rock here on the left. Onto the Mothership Circuit Board, and this one is on the left side on the building here. The next area, just make your way over to this broken castle, and it's in the middle. Now making your way into the Wizard Forest, and this one is at the back tombstone here. In the next area, it's just on the part right here. And then in the Wizard Dungeon, it's just behind the pillar here. Moving on to Cyberpunk Undercity, it's just on the left here behind this part. Cyberpunk Road, it's just on the right here. And onto Tech Ninja Kyoto, and it's just on the right here. Onto Tech Ninja Village, and it's just on the or behind the house here to the left. Onto the city, and if you make your way up this ramp here, there it is. And then in the next area, it's just on the coin pile here. Head down to the holographic power plant, and it's just on the right side here in this building. In the Dark Tech Ruins, it's just on the left side here behind this rock. Onto the Dark Tech Castle, and it's just on the left behind this castle here. Onto Dark Tech Forest, and it's just behind the fence here. The Hacker Power Plant, there are two here, so one is behind the building here, just in the corner. And then your other one is just behind this building right here. Into the next area, and it's just in the far right here. Into Hacker area, and it's just on top of the panel here. Into the Glitch Forest, and it's just on the left here behind the tree. Moving down to Glitch Town, and it's just on the right here on top of this building. In the next area, it's just on the left here on top of this black part. To Quantum Forest, and it's just floating in the air here. Onto Quantum Space Base, and it's just behind the rocket here. Moving on to Void Atomic, and it's just behind the second building here on the left. And for the last one in World 2, Void Fractor, if you make your way to the right here, it's just behind the Shard in the Sky. Now you've got those, you can head to World 3. In World 3, your first one is by the Rainbow Pets machine here. Then make your way over to the prison teleporter, and it's just on the floor. Now make your way to the prison world. So your first one's just on the right here on the wall. In the next area, it's just on the left here. Skip the next area, and in this section you have two, so one is behind the tree here on the right, and then one is at the top left here behind the pillar. Go ahead and teleport to Beach Island. At the very end here, just down this part behind the palm tree, is your first one. Go ahead and teleport to the second area, Ocean Island, and it's just on the left here behind the coral. Go ahead and teleport to Tiki Island, and there's two here, so one's behind the rock down here, and the other one is just behind the village hut here. Go ahead and teleport to Volcano Island. And just on the right here you have two, so one is on the ship at the top here, and the other one is just next to the ship at the end here. Next is Hacker Matrix, and your first one is just by the board here near the hacker chest. Then make your way to Hacker Cove, and it's just on the right side here behind this pillar. Moving on to Hacker Lab, and it's just behind this part here. And then onto Hacker Mainframe, which is on the left here. And it's just behind this pillar here. Once you've got that, go ahead and teleport to Dirt Village. And it's just behind the hut here. Moving on to Stone Forts, and it's just behind the rock here on the left. Onto Garden Metropolis, and it's just by this mansion here on the left. Moving on to Diamond Mega City, and it's just on the right side of this building here. Now you're able to teleport to Kawaii Tokyo. It's just on the left here on this window. Kawaii Village is just on the left behind this rock. Moving on to the next area, it's just behind the tree here. And then Kawaii Dreamland, it's just on the right here behind the chocolate. And go ahead and teleport to Grassy Plains. And your first one is actually in the next area, Rocky Ridge on the left here. You then have two in the next area, Crystal Lake. Your first one is on the right side here in the coral, and your second one is in the other bunch of corals on the left side. And then your very last one is in Elemental Realm, and it's just at the very back on top of the lava here. Let me know if this video helped.